at the beginning of the thing, and they had these like LED boards behind her, and all of a sudden the thing closed and crashed all over in the middle of her number. Just absolutely exploded. They didn't have it. They essentially had it, mismeasured, and the two sliding things cracked and absolutely in the middle of her thing. And so the next day, I mean, she was obviously not happy. It's not her fault, but it's, this is like New York Times is there and Broadway.com and everybody, and they panned the show. Oh, and I'm reading it, and I'm getting angry and angrier. And
damn journalists.
Yeah. And then David, my buddy, he goes to me, you realize this is what you do. And it was like... It was like this, so I'm true. Getting absolutely pissed at these critics because it's my friend, and then it all of a sudden it makes me realize what dumb his family and friends must think of me, Actually, I could tell you right now, Eric Holla's friends in this town despise me. They used to just trash me on Twitter, and it was because here I am criticizing their buddy, which I got. It was like an eye opener.
I can't believe you people who actually just write mean things in the paper.
Exactly, especially you.
Stop.
Yeah.
So, Stacey and I also went to see you mentioned Book of Mormon.
Yeah.
We saw Book of Mormon at the Orpheum here, and to our left were a bunch of people who enjoyed it as much as we did. To our right, we're convinced the people on our right were Mormons.
Yeah.
Because they turned white as the production started, and they did not come back after an intermission.
Yeah, they do. I've heard that story from David Larson was the one that was in Book of Mormon when it was touring around, and David said there's some people that are Mormon that just don't get what it is when they're coming to it. And all of a sudden they realize quickly, and adios. So...
one more reminder about the Bite Squad code. This weekend, Friday and Saturday, get $10 off your order with the promo code WILD2018, WILD all caps 2018. Do you want to talk about your athletic deal right now?
Yeah, well, right now, so Athletic is, if you're not a subscriber, we have a great deal with you for you, theathletic.com/IKnowRusso. That's 40% off, $2.99 a month for the first year, and you get everything. We have 700 stories a week, no ads, no pop-ups, no autoplay videos, the cleanest app you'll ever see. I went to that I mentioned on the last podcast, but I was giving an experiment to somebody, actually last night, Gabe Polsky. This is funny. So Gabe Polsky, who's a Hollywood director, he directed Red Army. So tonight he's at the Walker premiering a special private screening of his new film In Search of Greatness, which is a documentary where he sits down with people like Wayne Gretzky, Jerry Rice, Pele, and does this big thing. So last night he came to the Wild game as a guest of mine so I can talk to him. And so he starts asking me how the Athletic's going, and I'm showing him. And then I went to a local newspaper's website in town, and I showed him. I'm like, here's what I mean. And I went to it, and it was like, boom, boom, boom. I couldn't even move my cursor to close the thing. I had to do Control, Alt, Delete just to close this website here in town of this
and you're
local
not ripping
newspaper.
My newspaper right now,
No, I would say a different newspaper.
That's what I thought.
Yep, totally different newspaper. And that's the great part of the Athletic, and you just get some unbelievable stories. Like Friday, I am going to have, if I write it right, a Greg Patterson story that is one of the most heartwarming stories I think I'm ever going to write. I'm going to write it tomorrow on the plane. I don't want to give too much away, but it's such a cool story. And I talked to this mom and this 12-year-old boy today about the story, and honestly, I was on the phone, kind of just listening to how touching the story is, and so I'm looking forward to writing that. But then again, if I was writing that for a newspaper, you have to chop it to a finite amount of space. It's going to run during you have to sometimes say, all right, it's going to run on a Friday. Well, Friday is a big day for when you're going to really do your Vikings previews. So that, it's going to probably have to get buried in the back of the paper. So that's what's the cool part of the Athletic, Jim, is that you can just sit there and, there's no front page, right? I mean, it's just you don't have to really compete with the other sports in town, even though we do cover all the sports. So,
what's the promo code again?
theathletic.com/IKnowRusso.
All righty, cool. We have a big crowd here. If anybody wants to come up with live questions. We have a mic over here by Michael. You get to get close to Michael Russo as you ask the question.
And we have all these giveaways here.
And what are the gifts? You're the one who laid out all these gifts.
I mean, pretty much it's garbage. So we got like Minnesota Wild yearbooks. We got the 2004 to 11 CBA. That was the second of 3 lockouts that I've covered.
God, what a geeky show we are. We're giving away a CBA.
If you have a VHS...
Do you have any accounting textbooks we can give away?
Yeah, if you have a VCR, Mr. Jacobson...
We're giving away a CBA, and we're giving away VHS tapes.
Mr. Jacobson, you'll have to explain what a VCR is to your son over there. I'm giving away Slapshot. Okay. We got a Minnesota Wild... I don't think they could call it a Rubik's Cube because Rubik's didn't make it, so some sort of cube. But it's kind of like a Rubik's Cube. We got some DVDs. You'll have to explain that also to your son probably. We got Gretzky, Ultimate Gretzky. We got Ice Kings. We got Honor and Courage.
Seinfeld.
Greatest moments of something. We got an Alex Ovechkin 500 goals tape, and we have some Seinfeld VHS tapes.
Are you in these episodes?
We got some pins, pins for your lapel. I am in that Alex Ovechkin thing. I haven't turned it on yet.
I meant, are you in Seinfeld?
Oh, no. But I grew up on Vista Del Boca Drive.
To me, you're kind of half Kramer, half Costanza.
So my address growing up in Boca Raton, Florida, was Vista Del Boca Drive, and if you remember Seinfeld, Del Boca Vista was the street in that show. The Sun Sentinel's is in that show. So I used to love Seinfeld also because I grew up in South Florida. So whenever Jerry would go visit his parents, he'd see all this kind of cool stuff from my childhood. So there we go. Those are the giveaways. If you ask a question, also we have athletic phone wallets. So if you ask a question, pick something there. I did forget my Negative Dave T-shirt that I'll bring next time. We have business cards for the Athletic, too, that if you want to grab, you can give to your friends. Colin. You should start handing those out on the University of Minnesota campus.
Absolutely.
All right.
I mean, even college students can handle $3 a month.
And I have so many extra giveaways that if you don't ask a question, you'll probably get something, too.
Everybody's going to walk away with something if you want. So again, come up and ask live questions. What hockey topic do you want to tackle first that we haven't got?
Whatever Ken Cutler wants to talk about.
You have a question, Ken?
I have 2.
All right, bring it. Tell you what, while Ken's coming up, let me thank Twill in the Edina Galleria, twillmn.com. I'm actually not wearing Twill today, which is a rarity for me. But Barbara...
That you could see.
And you can tell, yes. But check out twillmn.com. Check out Twill on Instagram. Again, Edina Galleria, the most pleasant shopping experience you will have.
Jim usually doesn't like to shop for clothes. I don't like it when he shops for clothes either, because he used to buy stuff I'd want to throw out. That's why I'm so glad he's found Twill in the Edina Galleria. He likes shopping there because of the comfortable environment and the friendly staff. He finds clothes that actually fit him properly and are high-quality brands that will look great for years, whether he's golfing or working. Our favorites so far are Peter Millar, Johnny O, and Barber. We spend our money at Twill because we love the clothes and we love the no-pressure shopping. Drop by Twill in the Edina Galleria for the best shopping experience and best clothes you'll find in the Twin Cities.
Okay.
All right, Ken.
2 questions. One, when does Boudreaux figure out how to do 3-on-3? and keep, shall we say, Koivu, Parisi, and Suter off the ice since they play the entire period?
Yeah.
Second question is, how in the world do they not anticipate with Eck out and Koivu's wife getting ready to deliver that maybe they should bring somebody up just in case?
I don't get it. I mean, this happened when Chuck Fletcher was here, too. There were 3, 4, 5 times where they would wind up scrambling at the last second. They didn't have enough players. And this one just was, to me, mysteriously, and that's why I put some conjecture in my story today, saying, well, maybe they're trying to accrue some cap space. But really, one day of Matt Reed is going to add $2,000 to the cap. I mean, I just don't get it. It made no sense. Also, because... You know, they lost to Carolina. Then you come back with the same lineup after Eriksson Ek's hurt. You go to Nashville. You have a couple guys that Bruce doesn't even feel comfortable putting on the ice late in the game, and you don't get a fresh forward here for the second of a back-to-back. And then, to make matters worse, which makes it to me more mysterious, is Bruce admits in the post-game news conference that there was somebody in the Nashville game that was sick. So how then just... Do you not wake up the next morning? You don't know that the next morning if that guy's going to be able to play, so how come they didn't call anybody up? So it's just, it's easy to say rookie GM, but he's got a huge staff with him, too. I mean, there's got to be a reason that they're not saying. But obviously they called Matt Reed up today with Matt Hendricks now hurt, and we'll see. What was the other question again? Oh, 3-on-3. I will say, and I don't want to sound like an apologist, but Parisi and Suter did set up the winner the game before. But you're right. I mean, I don't understand why the three veterans. It's one thing. Look, there is an ego to this team that we saw with Mike Yeo. We saw it with there's a lot of things that he's got to deal with in the locker room that the average fan might not care about or appreciate. But that is the fact of life. When you have three guys like that on the team, they've got to get on the ice in ice time. But now they don't have to be on the ice together in overtime. And the other thing is that it is incumbent on them to play shorter shifts. This happens over and over again. There's a reason why this team has lost more games in overtime with Suter and Koivu on the ice than anybody else. And again, that was a game where they couldn't get any possession of the puck, and that's one big reason why Zach played a 67-second shift in overtime, and that's just too much. It's too much for the fastest and youngest player, let alone somebody that's 34. So I agree.
Who's off to the best start on the team?
Zach, I think. I think Zach's been outstanding. He has 7 points in 6 games now, and last night he didn't. Last night, this has come out on Thursday, but so last night being Tuesday, I thought he was the best forward on the ice again, and he didn't have a point. So I'm sure he's frustrated that he wishes he had more than one goal, but he's been absolutely awesome in my opinion, and it's because he's healthy. I mean, you just watch him battle for a puck behind the net now, watching him skate. He's a totally different player, and so I do think that he's playing really well. I like Zucker's game. Some nights he's off. Some nights he's taken some, he had a couple bad turnovers. The icing was a bad mistake. But for the most part, he's been probably their best forward. On the back end, I like the way most guys are playing. I actually like the way Suter's playing. I like the way Spurge is playing. I like, for the most part, the way Dumb is playing. Their blue line has been pretty good. Up front, there needs to be a lot of better performances from guys like Mikko, Charlie Coyle, although I thought Coyle was better yesterday. Nino has been, really non-existent. And Granlund played really well yesterday and in the third period against Carolina. But other than that, he's been a big disappointment.
Suter, is he playing better than you would have expected given the degree of his injury?
Yeah. I just talked to somebody on the phone, a former coach, and he was commenting to me about Arizona the other day and how slow they looked compared to Minnesota. And he's like, and the example he used is how many times they had trouble chasing down Ryan. So that says something, and this is a coach talking about this. And he's recognizing that, so that's an indictment on Arizona, who's a much younger, faster team than the Wild, but also says something about the way that Ryan is playing. Now, I know people have been frustrated with a couple of the screens that he's created the last couple games, both in Nashville and the game against Carolina, the one in overtime and then the winning goal in Nashville. But, those, to me, have nothing really to do with the injury. That's just kind of, bad mistake. Or there were other factors that led to that. But that has nothing to do with the injury. I think he's skating well. I'm watching him walk off the ice. He's walking without a limp. He's playing, much better than I thought that he would. Look, this guy had. I was telling Steven, who I did a podcast with Steven. I'm not sure the name of his show. I feel bad, but
Steven Strom.
Yeah. Is it just the Steven Strom
show?
Okay,
yeah.
So this will come out Sunday, but I was telling Steven today, I was talking to doctors this week that were telling me what was going on back in April when they were figuring out the surgery that he would need and the amount of opinions that he got and all this stuff and how career-threatening this injury really was. I mean, the surgery that he wound up having with one of the best surgeons in the world was a surgery that even guys at Mayo didn't want him to have or would have done it a different way. And so, this was scary, both for him, for the future of the organization, for everybody around. And so for him to now be on the ice without missing a game and playing 27 minutes a night, one, says everything about him, but two, just shows you how special of a player this really is. And I know that sometimes he drives Wild fans nuts with the pace that he plays with, or the casual wristers that he takes on the blue line and things like that. But he is a special defender and this team is